Part 1. A mysterious, unseen entity calls out to you, asking, "Are you there?" Are we connected? Afterwards, a red heart called a soul appears on screen. This is the way you interact with the entity. The entity proceeds to bring you to a vessel creation screen. You choose a head, torso, and legs from a list of options. Afterwards, you create a personality for your character. You answer questions such as, what is its favorite food? What color does it like most? And your favorite blood type? You're then asked to name your vessel and input your own name, which will become the name of the save file you play on. Suddenly, as a mysterious entity is admiring your creation, it is interrupted. It is unclear what the cause of this interruption is, whether it's another entity preventing the completion of the vessel or the same entity is pushing tones. Either way, it doesn't matter, as your wonderful creation will now be discarded.
Your name is...
Chris! Chris, the character you control, is woken up by their mother for school. Her name is Toriel, and she is a teacher at the school Chris goes to. She is annoyed at Chris for almost being late to school. Again. For simplicity's sake, I will refer to anything that Chris does under player control as you from now on, although it is canon that Chris is their own character and not a self-insert character. You get out of bed and walk to the car, where Toriel is waiting for you. The two of you walk into the minivan and drive to school. On the way, Toriel delivers an important exposition about Asriel, your older brother, coming home to visit next week. You arrive late to class as your teacher, Alphys, is starting to explain the group project the class is doing. She asks you to pick a partner, and you can walk around to ask the various classmates if they'll be your partner. However, this effort is futile as you can only end up with Noelle and Birdley, two of the people in your class. However, just as Alphys is about to approve this group of three, Susie, the class bully, walks in. You're placed with her for the group project, and Alphys attempts to start class, until she finds out she's out of chalk. You and Susie are assigned to go to the supply closet and get more chalk. Upon leaving the room, however, you see Susie eating the chalk. She turns around, surprised to see you, and corners you. She taunts you, saying you definitely want to turn her in to get her expelled. She pushes you up against the wall and threatens to murder you. Until she backs down, because you, quote, have a good mother. However, one thing is made clear by Susie. Your choices don't matter. You and Susie arrive at the supply closet and decide to open it. However, what you find inside isn't exactly a closet. It's pitch black, and darkness emanates from it into the hallway around you like light would do into the dark. The two of you agree to go in together and are faced with a seemingly really big closet. Just as you're about to leave, you and Susie get locked into the closet. Just then, the floor collapses, and the two of you fall down into the dark abyss below. Part 3. Journey into a dark yet darker world. You wake up all alone in a dark and mysterious place. You've got a new outfit and only one direction to go. You find a silver light and, by second nature, reach out and you save for the first time. You walk around, exploring a new environment and picking up a few items along the way. It's a desolate place, almost completely devoid of life. You're faced with a puzzle that's not too difficult to solve, in a room where bullets rain down upon you from weird, eye-like creatures. You find Susie hiding in what seems to be a pile of dust, in a room full of them. Then, the two of you are rocketed into another bullet attack. You run away and slide down a dried-out waterfall into a town that's seemingly abandoned. All the buildings are locked and there are no inhabitants. You make your way to the castle in the center of town, where you and Susie meet a mysterious robed figure. He somehow knows your name and Susie's name and tells you about a legend. A legend of hopes and dreams. A legend of light and dark. The legend of Deltarune. The legend speaks of a balance between light and dark, a balance that, if broken, would cause an end to Earth herself. It's only then that three heroes appear, A human, a monster, and a prince from the dark. Only they, working together, can seal the dark fountains and banish the angels' heaven, restoring the balance of light and dark and bringing peace back to the world. Once the robed figure finishes telling his tale, a boy named Lancer bursts in. He introduces himself as the bad guy and battles Chris and Susie. And, not to call a spade, but he's a spade. After a few turns of fighting, he flees the battle to refuel his bike that's on fire. After the battle, the robed figure makes his way back to you and introduces himself. He's Rouse, the prince of this land who has no subjects, waiting alone all of his life for these two to arrive. Susie, not wanting to be a hero, goes off on her own to try to get home. Rouse decides to go with you to try to find Susie. Before you leave the castle town, however, he shows off a tutorial he set up to teach you about how all this battling stuff works. After doing the tutorial and hugging Rouse numerous times, the two heroes go to the Great Door, the entrance to the Card Kingdom, where the dark fountain you need to seal is. Just before entering the Great Door, Rouse stops you. He believes that, although this journey is foretold by the legend, your choices do matter. He asks if you'd be up to trying to do this adventure without fighting. Finally, the two of you enter the Great Door and begin your journey. A field of hopes and dreams. As you and Rouse exit the Great Door, you're greeted with a strange new land, the Card Kingdom. The area you find yourself in is called the Field of Hopes and Dreams. You and Rouse make your way through this field, fighting enemies and having encounters with Lancer where you get to know him better. He's really just a silly, goofy little guy trying to have fun in this strange land. You're also retracing Susie's paths in hopes of finding her and convincing her to rejoin your team. Eventually, the two of you come across a puzzle that can only be solved with 3 people, making progression impossible without Susie. Luckily, she's in the next room, blocked by a door that only opens up upon completion of the puzzle. You and Rouse barely manage to convince her to join your team. And you're now able to solve the puzzle and progress. You solve the puzzle with ease now that you've obtained a Susie, but as you enter the doorroom again, you're faced with a fierce foe. See round. You try to warn the enemy about Susie's attack tendencies to no avail, and alas, it flees in horror, not willing to face the wrath of the almighty Susie. As our 3 heroes enter the next room, Rouse tries to tell Susie about Mercy, to convince her not to fight, or at least go easy on the enemies. She's not convinced. You look ahead and see 3 paths. Forward, a shop with a mysterious shopkeep. To the left, a strange puzzle man trying to get you to purchase a tutorial. And to your right, the path forward. You find yourself speaking to the strange puzzle piece man and learn that he's selling tutorials for $50 dark dollars. Whether you decide to purchase it or not, he lets you into his puzzle dungeon and you find out that there's more of them. How terrifying! He can talk to the tutorial people and get some helpful and some not so helpful information about your party members and information about how battles operate. If you speak to the first tutorial guy again, you'll find out that the king has banned everyone from making puzzles. Well, everyone except for one person. Part 5. The Strange Shopkeep. After exiting the tutorials room, you walk into the shop ahead and meet a strange shopkeep pronounced Sham. They welcome you into their shop and invite you to take a look at their wares. They're also open to some friendly conversation and purchasing your unwanted goods. If you speak to Sham, you can learn about some history of the Card Kingdom. You learn that the Lightners and Darkners used to live in harmony, until one day, the Lightners disappeared, locking the Darkners away in this land, now prison. The king, angry, vowed to take revenge upon the Lightners one day, but even now, some still hope that the Lightners would return. You also learn of the 4 kings who once ruled this land together. Until recently, a strange knight appeared and locked away 3 of the former kings. After that, the remaining king put him and his strange son into power. It is in these interactions that you really get a feel for the shopkeeper's personality. An ambivalent creature, one who has seen much of history yet only cares to share little of it, one who seems to know more about this world than they let on. Part 6. The Great Board. Progressing onwards to the right, the 3 of you encounter Lancer in the next room, eager to once again attempt to foil these heroes on their journey to seal the Dark Fountain. However, Susie interrupts him, saying his laugh is like a baby Santa Claus. She starts to threaten the boy, mocking him for his pathetic attempt at being scary, and decides to demonstrate how it's really done. However, instead of cowering in fear like Susie expected, Lancer takes it as a lesson in how to be scary. He copies Susie's laugh and sends out his guys to fight the heroes while also running away. In the next room, you encounter a puzzle with the instructions vandalized by someone with a very strange writing style. Doused fools, that will never figure it out now. P.S. I make my own rules. Solving the puzzle, the three of you move on to a new area, the Great Board. After moving past a few puzzles and enemies, you encounter Lancer again, this time trying to be scarier. It's here that Susie and Lancer first start to bond, with Lancer thanking Susie for his scariness tips and Susie giving him some feedback. Lancer shows off his bucket he brought for scooping up their blood before realizing he didn't bring any guys to beat the three up. Just when he's about to leave, he realizes the team of Chris, Susie, and Rouse doesn't have a proper name. He then offers to fix that, and initiates a name-picking competition using his blood bucket. Susie and Rouse, and Lancer for some reason, all put names into the bucket, and decide to let Chris decide on which one to take out since they look like they don't care. There are 3 papers to choose from. One by Rouse, one by Susie, and one by Lancer. Rouse's is The Fun Game, Susie's is The Shit Squad, and Lancer's is The Lancer Fan Club. Depending on which paper you choose, your group will be referred to differently throughout the rest of the chapter. I'll use all 3 of the names intermittently since, why not? Now reaching the end of the Great Board, the Shit Squad encounters Lancer once again. In the time between the 2 encounters, he's found a guy for you to fight. It's the route from earlier! This should be easy. Or not. This time, as a result of reaching the end of the board, it's kinged. Now you have a real foe to face. It levels up and suddenly has amazing legs. You try to warn it about Susie's attack, but it doesn't understand. Because Susie keeps attacking the creature, it drinks almond milk and grows ever more powerful, with attack raising and the HP going back to full. You and Rouse bow to it and it bows back. As it bows to your party, the crown on its head loosens, bit by bit, bow by bow. A few turns later, the crown falls off and you win! After the climactic battle, Rouse finally confronts Susie about her tendency to attack anything and everything. He tells her that she didn't help in that battle, or any battles for that matter. He tells Susie she's a hero, and she needs to accept that. Susie, not wanting to change her ways, accepts that she's a bad hero, so decides to join Lancer and be the bad guy instead. Part 7. We're the bad guys. You and Rouse continue onward into the Scarlet Forest and soon encounter Lancer and Susie together. They introduce themselves as the Dark Fun Gang. They announce that they're going to make a plan that is going to thrash you and Rouse. Then they run off to work on it. You move forward and find the Dark Lancer Fan Club, having a nice little snack of honey pot salsa from a tree stump. You decide to eat some and it restores something. Not HP, just something. You keep moving forward and encounter Lancer and Susie stuck at a puzzle. They've begun their planning, having a board of what looks like blueprints behind them. You do the puzzle and Lancer and Susie run away, saying they were stuck on the puzzle. You keep going and soon encounter another vandalized puzzle, and 3 heads that pop out of holes in the ground to help you solve it. According to the first head, it was vandalized by someone called RK, whoever that is. Once you solve the puzzle and move forward, you encounter a 3-headed creature named Clover. No, not that Clover. The other one. Yeah, that one. She was the one who helped you solve that puzzle moments ago. She's upset you didn't wish her a happy birthday, so naturally decides to battle you. To defeat her, you have to talk about boys, sports, and trees. Soon after, you're on your way. In the very next room is a bake sale, and at one of the booths is none other than Susie and Lancer. They're selling a Lancer cookie for $40 dark dollars. If you buy it, they use the money to purchase a hearts donut from Hathi and split it. A few rooms later, you encounter Lancer. Wait, he's actually a sweet little boy? With a mustache? If you say so. A sweet little boy in need of help! He needs you and Rouse to help him make his evil plan, a machine to thrash your own ass. It's a minigame to make a customizable machine that will thrash your ass. You can make things like a tank, sneak machine, or duck. Once you finish, it was a trick! Susie was hiding in the bush all along and took the evil machine, laughing about tricking you. Then she and the sweet little boy run off together, surely to build the machine. Also, a fun little fact about the next room. If you look back to the beginning after ringing the bell, you can find the original Starwalker. Also, if you walk between this room and the next room enough time. Part's egg. You enter a strange room, alone. In it, a strange, almost haunting tune plays. There is a single tree inside. There is a man behind the tree. He offered you something. Yes. You obtained egg! There is not a man here. Part 8. The Battle. In a further room, Susie and Lancer are vibing in armchairs, being fanned by leaves held by unwilling Rudins. When Rouse asks Susie if she wants to come back to being a good guy, she stays put in her desire to be a bad guy. In this room, you can see how much Susie and Lancer like each other and that they're becoming good friends. Before the fun gang enters the next room, Susie and Lancer warn you about the maze and how hard it supposedly is and that only someone who knows their way through it can succeed. Once you enter, you see Lancer going down one of the paths. The wrong path. Now you have to go the way Lancer isn't, which kind of proves he does know the path through the maze even though the game says he doesn't. Halfway through you find Susie in the maze too, and now you have to go the only path both of them aren't going until you find your way through. You and Rouse escape the maze and find yourself standing before a large machine, the very same machine you designed earlier for the sweet little mustachioed boy. It's very poorly built, however, and then it blows up. Susie and Lancer reveal themselves from the shadows and challenge you to a battle, with whoever loses the battle having to join the other's team. You fight, and to win the battle, you must first put Susie to sleep, then barrage Lancer with many attacks of kindness. After making Lancer like you, Susie ends the battle and the bad guys decide to join the good guys. Even Lancer, having gone through much development, joins you guys. And off we go to get to the castle and seal the Dark Fountain. Part 9. The Betrayal. The newly expanded group now goes forth to make their way to the castle. On the way, Susie and Lancer find a dark candy tree, but they can't reach the candy. Until Lancer reveals his stool form, which is just him bending over on all fours. This allows Susie to reach the candy in the tree. Lancer asks Susie to tell him how it tastes, and it's revealed his father, the king, doesn't let him pick dark candy from the tree. In an act of kindness, Susie lets Lancer have the candy, despite being hungry herself. He says it tastes like friendship. It's here where Lancer and Susie officially declare each other friends for the first time. How sweet. Further on, Lancer talks about how he feels happy and fulfilled walking with Susie and Chris, and Rouse mentions it's because that's the purpose of the Darkners, to assist the Lightners on their journeys. Susie, too, feels happy walking with the group. The fun gang is nearing the castle. Now they're able to see it up close for the first time. They see the Dark Fountain shooting out the top and know their journey is almost at its end. Lancer has reservations about this plan, asking if there's another way they can leave. He doesn't want anybody to get hurt. Susie tries to reassure him, saying she can beat anyone, but Lancer isn't convinced, so he runs away. Susie follows after him, and Rouse after her. Once again, you're all alone. You make your way through a barrage of bullets, dodging and weaving through them in a section mirroring the bullets you had to dodge when you first got here. Here, you catch up with the others, almost at the entrance to the castle. It's a trap! Lancer enters the castle and locks the three of you outside, letting you get cornered and captured by the guards. Part 10. Imprisoned. You wake up in a cold, dark room. You and Rouse are trapped together in a small prison cell. You look around for a way to get out, eat some moss, rattle the bars, and put on some shackles before giving up. Suddenly, Susie pipes in and tells you about how she stole the keys from the warden. All she needs to do now is solve a puzzle and she can escape. Problem is, she doesn't do puzzles. However, with your help, she solves the puzzle, opens her cell door, and walks out to free Chris and Rouse from their cell. Rouse asks you if you're worried about Susie, and he decides to take a moment to think about what she's doing. This causes the perspective to now be focused on Susie, making her way through the dungeon trying to free the two of you. You try to command her, to tell her what to do, but she can't hear you. She encounters a puzzle and she considers going back to ask for your help, but she hears Lancer's voice and decides to figure it out herself, with much focus and concentration. She solves it! Her first puzzle! Susie walks forward and hears Lancer, saying the Lightners have to stay in their cells, especially the purple one. She calls out to him and he reveals the ugly truth. He was the one who commanded the soldiers to put them in prison. To keep them in prison. Forever. Susie, feeling betrayed by this revelation, regresses. After all, why would anyone want to be her friend anyways? She tries to move past Lancer, but he refuses to get out of the way. So, she attacks. The battle is heart-wrenching. You have no choice but to sit there and watch as Susie attacks Lancer over and over and over again, with absolutely no way to stop her. Eventually, Lancer grows weak and decides to avoid hitting Susie altogether. As he grows weaker and weaker, Susie grows more and more enraged. But eventually, she can't bring herself to do this, to kill Lancer. Susie intentionally misses her last attack, which is what would be the finishing blow. She doesn't want to kill Lancer. He's her first friend. Ever. It's here that Lancer's motivations for locking up the fan club are revealed. He just doesn't want anyone to get hurt. Not Susie or his dad. Susie promises not to kill him, and that instead they'll just talk it out with the king, peaceful style. She says the two of them are still a team, still friends. Lancer, feeling much better about everything, goes out to try to talk to his father and convince him not to fight. Soon after this encounter, Susie goes up and saves Chris and Rousey from their cell, and things are back on track. The three of you take an elevator up to the main floors of the castle, but it's a long ride. During the ride, Susie tells you and Rousey that she's willing to try acting now. She also says that she'll listen to you in battle now, making her a real party member. You leave the elevator, now with the full party, and prepare to take on the castle. Part 11. Card Castle. You and your party exit the elevator and enter the castle proper. It's a maze of enemies to fight and puzzles to solve. The first floor is home to the Rudens, the diamond enemies. They sold their beds to replace them with treasure. They live the luxurious life now. The second floor is home to a puzzle that you need to solve in order to proceed. The puzzle is made by none other than Rules Card! Pronounced Rules Card. He has created a mighty difficult puzzle for you to solve. Perhaps the most difficult, most thought-provoking puzzle there has ever been. You can spend you solve it. It was actually really easy. The third floor is home to Hathi, the heart enemies. In their room is 4 beds. They sold all their gems and treasure to buy them. She's extremely well slept. Should you interact with all the beds, you upgrade your rank to Bed Inspector. Now you inspect all beds inexplicably. On the 4th floor, you encounter Rules Card once again. This time he is back with a much mightier puzzle than before for you to try and fail to solve. This puzzle, this masterpiece of a puzzle is pretty much impossible to solve. Wait, no. You solved it again. It was easy. Again. Also on this floor is Clover from earlier. You know, the 3-headed enemy? Yeah, that one. She's having her birthday party. Rudin and Hathi are also there. There's a 3-headed bed in the room, as well as sports and trees. It's fun. Finally, you reach the 5th floor. This floor is home to none other than Lancer. In his room are a whole bunch of holes, as well as a bike tucked lovingly into bed, and an MP3 player that just has various blat sounds on it. Interesting. Also on this floor, once again, is Rules Card! This time he's the owner of the castle shop, here to sell you items. It's here that you can learn more about this character. He's the Duke of Puzzles, and he's the one who vandalized all those puzzles earlier. He's also basically a second, lesser, dad to Lancer. He worships the king due solely to the fact that he put rules into power as the Duke of Puzzles. On the 6th floor, you encounter yourself an old foe, K-Round. This time, however, Rules has made it a special little crown. A painful mind control crown. Now the shit squad is faced with freeing this innocent checkers piece from the control of Rules, and thus saving it from an eternity of pain and suffering. Susie, now acting in battles, has an idea. She, with the help of Chris, is gonna throw Rousey at the crown and so it falls off. Miraculously, this works! With enough throws in the general direction of the enemy, K-Round, and by extension Rules, are beaten. Now utterly defeated, Rules decides to switch sides, and he claims that he was only doing all of this to test the abilities of our heroes, and now that they've proven themselves, they may proceed. Then he gets out of the way. Part 12. Battle against a true tyrant. Your team, now having proven themselves against Alexa K-Round, makes their way up to the roof of the castle, ready to battle their true enemy, the king. We see Lancer going up to his father, ready to convince him not to fight. Lancer desperately tries to convince his father not to fight the Lightners, telling him that they're good at heart and that no battle is needed. Alas, to no avail. The cruel king lashes out on Lancer, calling the Lightner scum and that they only care about destroying the Dark Fountain, not him. Lancer talks back, saying that his friends are not scum. The king is enraged. He threatens to drop Lancer off the ledge of the castle from 7 stories in the air unless they bow down to him. The Lancer fan club does so, and the king prepares to attack them. However, with a strategic spade, Lancer prevents the attack as well as escape from the clutches of the Chaos King. The battle begins, and each member has an option to try to talk and reason with the king. However, when they do so, it becomes clear that talking is not the solution. Their wills change, and talk is replaced with a new act for everyone. Rousey unlocks Dual Heal, which heals the entire party at once. Susie unlocks Red Buster, a stronger version of her Root Buster attack. Chris unlocks Courage, which defends the entire party for that turn. During the battle, King speaks of a being known as the Knight, the one who created the Dark Fountain in the first place, the one whom King worships. He declares that he shall not fail the Knight, and we realize that this is the reason he refuses to back down. Eventually, the king starts to grow tired, his attacks slow, and soon the battle ends. The king admits defeat. He seems to open up a bit, admitting that he longs for the days where Darkners and Lightners live in peace and harmony. The king asks the party to put down their weapons, desiring a peaceful end to this conflict. Rousey, the kind soul he is, heals the king. Bad idea. The Chaos King attacks the Lightners off guard. Susie gets up to attack the king, but he attacks her. Just before the attack lands, Chris gets out their shield and blocks it, saving Susie. He singles you out, determining that you're the leader. He's just about to finish you off when Susie strikes back at the king. She calls you her friend and tells the king to back off. King asks why he should back off and how Susie is going to convince him to stop fighting. She says she doesn't have a reason, but they might. Just then, a horde of angry soldiers, led by Lancer, show up to your aid. They pick up the tyrant and deposit him in the prison, declaring Lancer their new king. Rousey comes up to you and Susie and admits that maybe this isn't a world where kindness always wins. Susie calls out the nuance, saying that there may be some people you have to fight, but sometimes, if you don't let your guard down, you might just hurt someone you care about. Part 13. Goodbye. You and Susie are about to go steal the fountain, but first decide to go say goodbye to everyone. You find Rousey, and he's surprised to see you, but reveals that everyone has assembled on the roof of the castle to say goodbye to you. You walk around and say goodbye to all the friends you made on this adventure. Puzzle Guy, Rules, and of course, Lancer, as well as many others. You go and meet Lancer in the throne room, now standing, on the throne that once belonged to his father. Susie asks if it's okay to steal the fountain, and Lancer says he trusts you guys. You say goodbye to Lancer and make your way back to Rousey to say goodbye to him, too. Just as you're about to leave, Rousey pipes in. He talks about how he really enjoyed meeting you and takes off his hat. He reveals his true appearance, being white and fluffy with little pink horns and very, very cute. Susie gets a bit freaked out about this and runs off with Chris to go steal the fountain. And with that, you and Susie are off to finally steal this fountain. The two of you walk up to the fountain, seeing it up close for the first time. It's so beautiful. Susie mentions how it feels like they've stumbled upon something really important. And with that, the soul starts glowing, exits Chris's body, and seals the fountain. Part 14. Was it all but a dream? You and Susie wake up in the unused classroom. Toys strewn all about the floor. Susie is confused, wondering if it was all a dream. She goes off to tell Alphys that they couldn't find any chalk. You exit the classroom to find that most of the day has already passed, and the sun is setting. You two walk past the closet that started it all, and Susie is about to leave. But, before she leaves, she goes up to Chris, puts her arm on their shoulder, and asks to go back there tomorrow. Epilogue. A town called Hometown. When you leave the school, Toriel, your mother, calls you. She asks you what you've been doing and complains about sitting in the car for half an hour waiting for you after school, and that you didn't answer the phone. However, when you mention that you were hanging out with a friend, she softens up. She tells you that you're gonna have to go to bed early when you get home, but doesn't punish you further than that. You are now given the freedom to explore the town to your heart's desire. You can go to many different locations, meet many different characters, and talk to old ones again. You can go to the library, diner, park, and many more places. You can go to the hospital and see Noelle's sickly dad. You can go to your father's flower shop and learn that your parents are divorced. Asgore, your father, will give you flowers for your mother. You can go see Noelle, who forgot her key, and learn that her mother doesn't like being interrupted at work. She also seems to have a not so small or subtle crush on Susie. But ultimately, all paths lead to home, and that is where you must go. You enter your home and you see your mom sitting on her chair, reading a book. You can talk to her and she'll tell you not to eat the whole pie that she just made, like he tends to do. You can give her the flowers from your father, which she'll just throw away. In the end though, you must go to sleep and end today's adventure. The end.
When the light is running low and the shadows start to grow and the places that you know seem like fantasy, there's a light inside your soul that's still shining in the cold with the truth, the promise in our hearts. Don't forget, I'm with you